Hello YouTubers, you're on an all-new movie review, and today I'm going to be going over my brief review and thoughts of Batman Returns. This is the 1992 sequel to Batman from 1989, and it is directed by Tim Burton with Michael Keaton reprising his role as Batman. You also have Pat Hingle reprise his role as Commissioner Gordon and Alfred Gough as Alfred Pennyworth. In addition, you have Danny DeVito added to the cast as a villain, the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and Christopher Walken as Max Schreck. So yeah, what is the story? It pretty much starts off with the birth of the Penguin. You have Pee Wee Herman as his dad. He's this abomination, and they toss him out into the sewer. And that is a start. It has an opening logo, and then it fast forwards 33 years later, but this is some years after Batman 89. And the Penguin is like the main orchestrator of this gang called the Red Triangle Circus Gang. And they just basically have anarchy and chaos in Gotham City on Christmas. It's a Christmas season. The mayor is having this special tree lighting and they crash the party. Batman is yet again called to duty and he returns. It's Batman facing this gang. In addition, we have Max Schreck, which is also the name of the actor who played Count Orlok in the 1922 film Nosferatu, played by Christopher Walken. Here we're introduced to Selina Kyle, who is his secretary, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who is also Catwoman in this film. Overall, this film just has a lot of characters, and they try to balance too many villains and characters in this film. But I'll get to that in a bit. Afterwards, Selina Kyle's in danger and she meets Batman. Batman saves her life and stops the Red Triangle Gang for now. Pretty much the story is her discovering that Max Schreck is stealing energy from Gotham. He wants to build this power plant to steal energy and conserve it. And he basically pushes her out the window, but she survives. These cats basically bite on her and she becomes Catwoman. So that's how her story is set up. Meanwhile, the Penguin kidnaps Max Schreck and wants to align with him. Basically wants to kill him because if he's rich and entitled and he has everything against rich people and he knows that he's evil, he's blackmailing him. But they basically join forces, and through the movie he wants Oswald Cobblepot to become mayor. So they have a recall, set up this whole thing to save the mayor's baby and basically say he's an incompetent mayor. And they have Penguin basically becoming mayor of Gotham City while also trying to find the first newborn children because he's going to kill them because he felt he was left aside by his rich parents and he wants to do the same to the children of Gotham. He feels that Gotham has failed them. And Batman's just like in the midst of all this. It's a very, very complicated, kind of long story, really. I mean, they just have a lot of characters. You have about a couple of villains. Max Schreck's a villain, Catwoman's a villain, Penguin's a villain, and the Red Triangle Circus Gang is a villain. But the one thing I like about this, Michael Keaton doesn't have that many lines, but he's always investigating. Whether it's Bruce Wayne talking to Max Schreck about the energy power plant and not voting for it, or him as Batman at night searching the streets of Gotham, he is always investigating. He was always Batman, no matter if he's Bruce Wayne or in the bat suit. And that's one thing I like about this film. Above all, the problem with this film, among many of the others in this anthology, is that Batman plays second fiddle to the villains again. And they try to do a larger-than-life portrayal like Jack Nicholson, but I do have to say Michelle Pfeiffer as Selina Kyle is among one of the best Catwomans ever portrayed on film. She's a little bit more psychotic, but I do like it. Above all, it still has a little bit of that 1930s vibe, but really this is Tim Burton's homage to the 90s comics. The area that takes most embellishments is probably Penguin. He's just this hideous, grotesque fat guy with a beak. He's not like the Penguin from the comic books. He doesn't own the Iceberg Lounge. He's in fact a very gross man. Although Danny DeVito does do a fantastic job, this is probably the most Tim Burtonized character of his Batman films. And Christopher Walken, as always, is creepy and evil, but really he kind of takes away from it. They have just too many villains. And the Red Circus Gang is pretty good. I mean, they're just regular goons. They're pretty much like the Joker's men. But above that, the soundtrack is great. Danny Elfman does a soundtrack. Sisu and the Banshees do the song Face to Face, which is very good on the soundtrack. I like the chemistry between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton in this film. And Michelle Pfeiffer was actually not supposed to be the original Catwoman. It was going to be Annette Bening. And then she was pregnant, so they ended up having to get Michelle Pfeiffer, which I'm glad, because in the original, Kim Basinger wasn't going to be Vicky Vale. That has Sean Young, and she had a horse accident. Injured her leg, so she couldn't film, so Kim Basinger came in. So you have another case of a recast, and ended up working for the better, I feel. She is one of the best parts about this film. And above all, she's kind of, again, like that line of good and evil. She's really about her own gain, her own interest. And that's one thing I like about this Catwoman. She's always for herself. She happens to love the Batman, but he's on the other side of the law, and then she joins Penguin in an attempt to basically destroy the Batman. They frame him for murder. They set up the Batmobile to be booby-trapped. Good sequence there. I like how they set it up. And above all, it creates tension and mood and chaos in Gotham to a hero that they've already come to trust from the first film. They don't really get to delve more into that aspect, which I wish they did. Another thing that affects this film, besides the direction and story, it's very dark, which I don't mind, but it's almost to the point where it's grotesque and just feels more like a Tim Burton movie than a Batman movie. It's a good Tim Burton film, but not a good Batman film, if that makes sense. But it's still better than Batman Forever and Robin, but above all, the sets, they filmed it at Pinewood in the original '89 Batman. It felt large, the space, the way they used miniatures. This one is filmed in Los Angeles, and you can tell that everything feels like it's a closed set. That's another con I have. It's a sequel, yet it doesn't feel entirely like a sequel. I don't feel like I'm in the same Gotham as I was last time. But you do get some nods to why Alfred let Vicky Vale into the Batcave and certain references to the previous movie, which makes it feel more like a sequel. But overall, it feels a little bit different than the first, and it just doesn't have that enjoyable... It doesn't have that entertaining enjoyability factor to the film. It doesn't feel like the '89 Batman. It feels like a step down in many ways, but it's not really with the acting. It's more of the story, really. It's just overstuffed. It's just too much going on, too many villains. It doesn't feel as streamlined, and that's where this film really gets bogged down, besides some of the Penguin stuff. And Penguin is good. It's just that he's always kind of like a horny little bird. He always has like a fetish of some sort. And it gets to the point where it gets kind of annoying and just kind of like, okay, what is going on in this film, really? But Dan DeVito does a fantastic job. I like the stuff with Christopher Walken. Him having the Penguins try to bomb Gotham City is something new. The confrontation at the end, Selena Kyle's confrontation, and then her and Bruce. Bruce wanting to save her and her not really wanting to be saved. He's like, this isn't a fairy tale. And I just love that part where Michael Keaton's talking to her. He's like, Selena, we're the same. Split. Right down the center. I love that, and I love the ballroom dance scene. You get some really good moments, the whole face-to-face part, and they find out that they're Catwoman and Batman, where they end up saying the line, mistletoe is deadly if you eat it, and it's like a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it, and they both say that to each other. What they said before is Catwoman and Batman, and they realize that they're both their alter egos, that he's Batman, she's Catwoman. They realize they may have to fight each other even though they love each other. That type of duality and just rift between them two, the dynamic, is really, really strong and very emotional. And this movie does have some very good moments. I just wish there was more of it. You could tell there's a movie that feels more like the 1989 movie, a little bit more focused. Above all, they also make Bruce Wayne somebody who's kind of like a Citizen Kane figure. He's just by himself. There's no money. He's always kind of just like sad, but in a way he sympathizes with Penguin because he knows what it's like not to have parents. But he realizes Penguin is lying, and there's a cool investigative aspect to that. And I just love it where he pretty much proves the Penguin wrong, shows the people of Gotham what the Penguin is really like, and that whole confrontation at the end again is good. Eventually to Penguin's demise and what you think is Selena Kyle's until the very ending where he finds the cat and you have Catwoman there. That shot was added. It was actually like a mannequin, but hey, it's not Batman, but it's kind of cool. It's like an opposite version of the ending from the first one. It still feels very Batman-esque. It shows you that Batman's work is never done, and he can't really have a normal life again. And I like that, even though he did meet somebody who is practically his match. But yeah, above that, it just goes a little bit too dark. And if I had to give Batman Returns a score, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I don't mind stuff being dark, but when the story is not as good and it just gets to the point where it becomes like gross and just too gratuitous for the sake of it, it starts to bog it down. But ultimately what kills this film is the writing, and again, it being overstuffed. You really could have just had Catwoman by herself, or the Penguin, or just Penguin and Catwoman. Max Schreck and the Triangle Gang really add a lot more into it, where it just becomes too stuffed. But ultimately, they should have made Batman the main center with these characters, where he really plays second fiddle without much dialogue. But it does work. Michael Keaton cut the dialogue scenes because he knows how Batman's supposed to work, and it does work better for that. But it's just as far as screen time, Catwoman and Penguin really take hold of this movie. But as far as Batman, you really get to see more of him, and Michael Keaton gets to prove what he is as the character. He's not too overshined like he was with Jack Nicholson. He really gets to own the movie in this one. I like it where he beats a circus guy with a bomb, has that smile, him fighting. That whole part where Penguin's like, you don't think you'll win, do you? And he's just like, things change. I just love that. How Batman never gives up. But yeah, I would give it a 3 out of 5. And ultimately, it's not a bad movie. It's just not as good as 1989. And the certain direction that this film took, with it being so dark and so violent, which I don't mind, again, but the story not being as strong and the content feeling like it's gratuitous for the sake of it, really kind of hurted the film, and Warner Brothers' stupid decision to basically fire Tim Burton and go to a more campy, family-friendly route. So even though I blame Batman Forever for that, it's really this film that caused Batman Forever and Batman and Robin to happen. And above all, I just didn't like how it didn't feel like the 1989 Batman, even though it does take it a step further. But still, it's a solid entry into the Burton Batman series, and it's not a bad Batman film by any means. I've seen much worse, and Michael Keaton gives a good performance as well as Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito. All around, it's a very iconic Batman, and Danny Elfman's score, just everything about this, it's a good Batman. It could get a lot worse, but yeah, I would give it a 3 out of 5. Not my favorite Batman, but it's not a bad film, and I like the dark elements. I just wish, again, it's too overstuffed, and I wish the story was stronger. But other than that, it's a very solid entry. If you have not seen Batman Returns, I would highly recommend seeing it, and the 1989 movie. Anyway, if you have seen Batman Returns, let me know. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What'd you think of it? What's your favorite moment? I love it where he ends up having the bat wings and flies after he was set up. I like that part in the Batmobile part. But yeah, that and the whole Catwoman Batman thing. Let me know what you think, and if you like this, click the like button, comment, and subscribe for more videos. And stay tuned for my upcoming movie review, in which I'll be going over my thoughts and review of the 1995 film, Batman Forever.